You want me to start? Well, let me tell you, when I was in college, it's a way back now, I had a room with 2 students, 2 desks, 2 beds, 2 closets. The room on this boat was half that size with 2 beds and a bathroom, which you had pretty much all one type function. But the rooms were extremely small in this boat. It was fascinating to see how they put it together. Starting out, we flew from St. Louis. To tell you, we were up, most of us up Monday. We left Monday night, flew to St. Louis, or what, drove to St. Louis, did we go through Atlanta? Through Atlanta. From there, we went to Panama. All of us are intimately involved with Panama because we had a 7-hour layover with a 4-hour delay on the plane. So it was a long time sitting in the airport at Panama, and you saw a lot of them sleeping, a lot of them playing cards. And then from there, we flew into, I guess, on Sunday flying out was 7 or 8 hours, and then we had an additional 4-hour delay. Anyway, we left, and so that started everything on the boat late. We spent the first day just traveling that night, and the first day we were traveling. Just briefly, I'll share the outline, and you guys can add all the coloration that you want to it. But we went up the river pretty much on the first day, and we had gone up. And when you go to these villages, the little skiff that you saw in the back of the boat, one of the ladies, Aoli, and usually Ty, would have to go to these villages and get permission from the president. That's what they call him, the president of that community, to see if it was all right for us to come in. The first one they went to, they were all gone. They'd all moved out. There was nobody left at the village at all. So we went further up, and we went up the Niagara River, and that's where we found the families that we saw. I don't know if you noticed when you looked at the pictures of the river, we've got a stream over here, Mississippi. That's a stream compared to what the Amazon is. You cannot, I mean, you look and you can't believe how far you can see. Now, when we went, was the flood stage, and it was about, what, 40 feet higher than, yeah, higher than normal, than the low area in the fall. Was it 90? Okay, 90 feet. It was, yeah, it's above, and it was, I don't know if you noticed, but you don't see any trees when you're going the river. All you could see was canopies of the trees. Everything was below in the water. So we made our trip up and made the initial stop, was there 3 days, I believe it was. We did, you'll see from those pictures, we went and visited individually in group. We visited them individually with groups of 4 or 5. I got to be with Shaylee and Braden in my group. And we went out and shared the gospel with them. These people are extremely open, very anxious to hear from us. And many of them we were able to say a prayer of salvation, and they said it with us. Now, I don't know if they were saved, but the seed was planted one way or another. Other than that, I mean, I could go in a lot of details, but I don't think I need to, because I'd get lost in them. But I will tell you, the very best picture was the one we didn't get. We went up to one family, and they were out, as you saw, most of them were living in their boats or in flooded houses. And they were sitting in their boat outside their house, and we came up to them. They had some kind of a blanket over part of the boat, so we didn't see it till we got right up to the boat. And this dog came out, very aggressive. But riding on the back of that dog was a monkey. And unfortunately, before we got done, or when we got done, he went behind the blanket before we could get a picture of him, of the monkey riding. But that was the best picture, I think, of the whole time that I saw. I'll let Shaylee add some more.
Yeah, so thank you, Bruce, for that introduction. I think we may have had the room beat, though, as far as size. Our room was it was really, really small. But it was me, Hannah, and my mom. We were sharing a room, a bunk bed. And so Mom and I were sleeping on the bed, and she got the bed to herself. But but yeah, so that's kind of, whenever we got there, it's kind of how arrangements happened to be made, and then the boys were all in a room. But I say some of the things that, like, our routine as far as what we did. We went in and we had a medical clinic. We went house to house. We did evangelical speaking, so we went and greeted people where they were. I know our team, we got to go on a boardwalk, and so it was like a 2-foot if even that, like a 2-foot walkway across in front of all those houses. And so it's like it was really interesting trying to pass on that. You had to be careful not to fall off, especially with a heavy book bag on. But I say so. We got to practice with the EvangeCube and with we also use these bracelets. I'm trying to think: yellow, red, black, blue, and green. And we would use that to kind of share with the little kids. And then one of the first people that I came across that Steve, he was our main group leader, had me do as a little girl. And he had just shared the gospel with her mom, and her mom had just received Christ in her life. And he had me share with her, and then so she also made the prayer to receive Christ in her life. And later we ended up in her household, and her whole family got to come to Christ. And that was really exciting to see and get to talk with them and their whole family. And we say, like you said, people were wanting to hear the gospel. From the time we stepped off the boat, there was actually like the president of the village came up, and he kept coming back and again to try to get the whole message. And there were distractions, like he kept having to turn away, but he kept coming back. And in the end, he also made the decision to follow Christ. And we just saw a lot of people that first day get saved and get to experience, and like I said, practice sharing the gospel. I'm sure that our translator was Victor. I'm sure he helped us out a lot, at least me. But they did a beautiful job of hearing what we were saying and then translating it in a way that the people could understand. And it really made that language barrier a lot easier. We didn't have to, I didn't notice a huge difficulty with it. And I know we picked up like a couple little words like obrigada as thank you, and then the one bom dia is one that good morning. So I mean there's just this little things like that. A couple other things we did. We had a women's conference and a men's conference, and then we also did like a VBS that same day. But I probably need to be quiet and let them talk some. So I'm gonna pass the mic off and see who I can get to talk before I keep going.
Don't all volunteer at once.
Can somebody share what their favorite experience or event that happened there was?
I'll share a little bit. So I got to sleep with the boys. I don't know that they appreciated it so much, but we had then Brandy decided she was going to come check on us, and I don't think she was too pleased with the condition of our room. She told us it smelled like a locker room. So, it was good. It's just really eye-opening to see the people, the conditions that they live in, and just to realize how spoiled we are here in America. And then they had in the first village that we went to, they had a Catholic church and is it New Seventh-day Adventist or something?
Yeah, Adventist.
Yeah. So there was 2 other Christian religions within that community, and the first family that we stopped at was right across from the Seven-day Church, and I was with Jerry and his wife Dawn, which were from the Alabama group that went, and then I also had Carter and Hannah, so that was interesting having you 2 with us together. But the mom. She had been to the Catholic church in town and several times, and they had 3 daughters, I believe, with that family as well. And we were sharing with them, and you could tell that they were more used to the works-based plan of salvation. And I'll never forget, when Jerry was sharing with her, she said, "That sounds so beautiful." And it is. It really is. It's nothing we did. It's everything that Jesus has done for us. And then the other thing that I really took away was the other family that we shared with was some younger kids. They were probably, I think 19 was the youngest one, and there was about a 23-year-old and maybe a 27-year-old. And when we asked them, do you guys know if you're saved? And we really got kind of all 3 different responses. The first one was, well, I don't know, I think so. The next one was, I'm not, no, I'm not. And then the third one was, no, I'm not, I have no interest in it, I'm just going to go to hell. So that was kind of an interesting dynamic within that group of young people. The youngest one, he was actually getting his haircut when we were sharing with them, and he had had a near-death experience, so he was very receptive to hearing the gospel. And what we did say a prayer of salvation at the end there. He was saved, and then his friend that was giving him the haircut, the guy, he actually sought out Jerry, our group leader, later in that the next day, I think. And before he left, he did pray to receive Jesus, so that was great. I'm just hoping that seeds were planted with the third individual, you know. So, but I'd like to hear some more from Brandy and the boys.
Well, I don't know if we have all night for me, because I could talk and talk and talk about this mission trip. It was absolutely wonderful. I will back up and rewind a little bit before we went on the mission trip. When Julie and them first said something about the mission trip, I was like, yep, sign us up. That's amazing. I want to go, you know. And she's like, you guys go pray about it. If you still feel like the desire to go, then you just need to sign up. And I was like, I heard about the money. I was like, there's no way. Like, we don't have an extra $15,000, $18,000. You know, we don't have that. We didn't set that money aside to plan for the trip. And Julie was like, Brandy, you just pray for it. And she goes, you just watch God work. And boy, did he work. And I will tell you, when we decided to go on the mission trip, the devil was working on overtime on us. Big time, from my dad to, you know, my mom. And how could you do that? How could you take your family out of this country? You're crazy. You shouldn't do that.
And my parents, too.
No family, the family support. It's like, it was horrible. Him and I had arguments over money and like fundraising and it was horrible. And then like to health issues, you know, we can't get this shot, or we can't do that, or, you know. And then as we prayed, and I kept coming back to Julie, and she's like, girl, the devil is working on you overtime. We need to pray. And all of that went away. And sure enough, the money came in. So it was amazing in that aspect. And honestly, I felt safer there than I do going to St. Louis. So that was an eye-opener as well. But anyway, as we were watching these videos, I wanted to jump up and say, this is it, and explain it as we were going through. But that was taking the pictures and videos and trying to get this video. Thank goodness for him, Kyle, because my patience with doing that kind of thing is very small. I was ready to throw the computer out the window, and I was like, I can't do this. So Kyle came to the rescue, and he picked out some stuff, and he got the videos and made that for us. And that was my way of trying to get you all there just a little bit. See little pieces of what we saw, because like the worship on the boat was so beautiful. Hearing the other people and their language sing was so beautiful. It was amazing to be there to see. I personally didn't do a good enough job at sharing. I was more of, I'm just going to listen. I'm going to listen. I did share with one person. He got to share with someone, but it was a group effort with me. But I learned a lot. So I know Shaylee and Braden and Scott did, and then Dylan, they all were able to share. And even to this day, I still need to work on myself. But anyway, the whole thing was beautiful. I know Julie was like, Brandy, can you believe where we're at? We're sitting in the middle of the Amazon, and our children, and they played soccer. Oh my gosh, the soccer, they played and played and played. Sitting in the middle of the Amazon and playing soccer.
And those kids are really, really good at soccer, too. It's not
They're
like our
very
kids.
good at soccer. But sitting in the Amazon, you know, in Brazil, with our kids running around playing with kids, and they don't even know the same language. And that in itself was absolutely beautiful. I don't know if you all will have enough time. I had this video during movie night of Tristan and Emily and Braden talking, even though we don't know the same language, sharing each other's names back and forth. And I seen that video, and that's my absolute favorite video, because it's like we go to another country. We do not know their language. They don't know our language. But look how beautiful, if you all can see this video, how beautiful it is. They're laughing and giggling, and we're talking. Even so, not knowing the language, to me is an excuse. Like, it can still happen. You can still go, that kind of stuff. So, the people that we've met, we have friends in Alabama, we have friends in Brazil, we have friends in Texas now that I miss them. Like, they're beautiful. Like, I feel like they're our family. It was amazing. I told Shayla, I was like, I don't think I can get up there and talk because I will cry because it's so beautiful. It was so beautiful. But I could probably just keep rambling on all of this.
What questions do you guys have? Ask something to Braden or Dylan.
Brandy, I noticed you brought you was talking to your group, and I think I seen a person in the center of God's will in their life. Was that song leader? Where he was leading the and I think I seen a picture of a guy very, very at peace where he was at and what he was doing. Right?
Yeah.
I think that's probably one because you said something to his family that guy that led the music. He looked like he was in the center of God's will right there.
Oh, what's his name? Marcus was. You seen that big? Marcos. I'm sorry, I'm horrible with names. He's just a beautiful person. He was bubbly and he was smiling, and you could just, that one picture, like, that's him the whole time. He was just full of joy, and it was really neat being there. So.
I'm not done yet, brother. You give me a microphone, I'm gonna have to talk. I seen Carol rolling his eyes. One other thing, I hope that you guys brought home contentment, because I've seen a lot of contentment in those folks.
I know.
I'm like you, Brandy. I couldn't go there. I'd be boo-hooing all the time. But hopefully, their missions, their message to you, what you brought home with you, was contentment.
It was beautiful. You're gonna make me cry. Stop that. It was beautiful seeing the kids go out and share, and then like the one place where you seen they were fishing, those really, really big fish. They didn't have a hook on it, but it was to take a fish off of a rope just to feel the force of the big fish. Well, afterwards, like, we were hanging out, and he went over to the guy, Scott did, that kind of led the little dolphin swimming thing that they had going on, and he started sharing with this guy.
That's not exactly how it happened.
I just look over and I see Scott over there sharing with this man. And that's something that we've not ever, our family, we don't do that. We don't just walk up to someone and start sharing. Do you want to elaborate on your story?
Well, again, you don't understand the language, right? So but Victor and Marcos, they were all very good about, you could tell they had a love for Jesus. I mean, Ty, finding these interpreters, he really found some good people to work for him. And they were always about, while you're standing here, you need to be looking for that opportunity to share with people. And like Brandy said, that's not something, when we're standing in the line at the grocery store, I'm not necessarily looking to share Jesus with people, I'll be honest. That's usually not what's on my mind at that point in time. But these guys were very, yeah, I need to get home, and I got this and this and this to do. But those interpreters were very much about, looking for those opportunities. And I think it was Victor turned around to me, and he looked at, I don't know if Braden was with me or Braden was with me, and he said, this guy is asking what we're doing here. And, hint, hint, this is a perfect opportunity to share. And so that's when we proceeded to go over, and I began to share with him. But
Similar experiences because he was Catholic.
yeah, that's kind of a big Catholic area. South America that was our experience down there, and I do have a Catholic background. So, but yeah, it was very good. Braden, why don't you share something? What was your favorite part of the trip?
My favorite part would be the animals, because The sloths was, and the snakes are really cool. We gotta hold like sloths. We gotta see monkeys and caiman. What else?
Like
was
an
there?
alligator.
Yeah. Yep.
They got the fish for piranhas.
Mhm.
Yep.
My turn. All right, I'm just gonna kind of go off of what Emily and Tristan did and tell them like, how I led people to Jesus. So the first time I did it, it was down a hill, and we walked in. This kid's parents weren't home, but we still went in, and then I shared the Evangelique with him, and then at the end we prayed. I kind of stumbled into praying, so the translator had to pick up in it, but it was a group effort, and that's really all that I have to say. So it is now Carter's turn.
Okay, so I really don't know what to say. So dur- in the village we were in most of the time, this first house we went to, and there was the parents and someone just started sharing Jesus with them, and then eventually later on, all the three daughters came out, and eventually everyone got saved, and it was really beautiful. And so on the boat during worship, you could just see it was real. There's this one girl who sang a song.
What's the name of that song you were singing on the way home?
It was
Yes.
yeah, the
The
commission.
Commission. Have you guys heard that song? Like we're commissioned to go out and spread.
And that was really beautiful.
She did a cappella. Like she's just like, I'm gonna sing this song for you, and it was really pretty.
Yeah,
Cause that's what we're supposed to do.
yeah.
That's what God called us to do, is to go out and share the word of Jesus.
And then back in our room, we were kind of lucky. As boys, we got the big room.
They got the big suite.
There was a bottom bunk which was a big bunk. It was like a 2-person, and then on the top was the 1-person bed. But in the all like 90% of the other rooms, there was just 2 small ones, the 2 small 1-person beds, and the
Did
one.
you like playing soccer? That was soccer.
It was kind of fun, but the one thing that got me on the boat was the shower water. We were always racing to get in the shower because there was no water heaters or anything on the boat. It was sun heated by the sun, and it was cold. So
Glad to have a hot water heater when we got home.
yeah, and that's about it. So thank you for everyone who helped out. The animals were kind of fun to play with too.
So on the boat before we left, towards the end of our trip, they got on and the guy started preaching and talking to us and talking about, okay, so what do we do when we go home? You know, we've learned a ton. So that's the one thing, like I already see that we're coming back and you get back into your regular routine and whatnot when that's probably I'm sure that's what the devil wants us to do. But how do we keep focused on sharing Jesus? We don't have to go to Brazil to share Jesus. We need to do that here in our country. And so I was like, okay, we can't really just go to Brazil whenever we want. So what can we do here? What can we do? So trying to find options and things that we can do here in the U.S. or Illinois or wherever is kind of where my mind has been thinking right now. But it's very easy to fall back into your old patterns. So I'm just going to ask for y'all to keep praying for us and for the church to find those opportunities. Like Matt and Julie always say, you know, they gave so many examples to us too, you know, oh, I'm eating out of the restaurant. The waiter comes over. How can I pray for you today? And strike up a conversation. So that's what I am trying to keep reminding myself. And again, I need more courage to be able to step out of my bubble and like do that with people. Why is it easier to go to another country and use a translator to speak to people you use the excuse there, oh, I'm not sure, I'm sure, I need to become friends with them first. Well, okay, well, now you're back in your country where you can speak English to other people. What's your excuse now, I guess, is what I keep finding myself. So I personally would like to keep or see our family grow more in missions, even if it may not be overseas, which I didn't want to come home, to be honest. I wanted to stay and do more. But anyway, so I just pray for that so that we can continue to grow and become more comfortable sharing. And then another beautiful story. I know Shaylee wants the mic. I talk too much. I'm sorry. Before we went over to Brazil, Shaylee, of course, she's a senior. She's graduating. What are you going to do? I don't know, going back and forth. And she feels called into missions. That's definitely something that she knew. So we visited different colleges. We went over to College of the Ozarks, and we went to the Bible college that Matt told us about. And I don't know. And then she found this Nehemiah Teams, and she's like, oh, that would be really cool, But she's like, oh, I just really don't think I should go out of country. I just don't know if I want to go for 9 months. I don't know. And so she didn't apply. But before we got home, she's like, oh, yeah, I'm going. And navigating through the airport we've never done that before. So I'm so thankful that we had you all to follow, because I think I would have got lost or missed a flight, because I don't know. Yeah. And I just look at her, I'm like, Shaylee, how are you going to navigate through the airport? And this is Shaylee, quiet, shy Shaylee. She's like, well, I'll figure it out if I have to. So it was really cool to see her kind of, oh, I don't know, to I'm going and I'll figure it out. So it was kind of cool to see that transition after she went over there, to add to that story, and I'll let her talk more about that too. But stop. Yes, and Hannah wants to talk too. I know, I'm sorry. You just lost my train of thought. Right. So, I don't know. She just lost where I was going with that. But anyway, so it's kind of cool to see Shaylee and decide. She is not exactly sure where she's going, but she'll come back and reapply to a couple different places she's been looking at. And again, she can share that a little bit more, since Hannah just lost my train of thought. But here's Hannah.
My favorite part about the mission trip was the animals too. It was shocking because this one part that we walked down there and they just started putting animals on us, and he put a snake around my neck. I'm like, oh, okay. And then the first animal he put on me was a monkey, and it was so cute. It's like one of those small, and it just wrapped around my arm, and it was so cute. He put it on backwards, and he just turned around. He was like, I'm turning around. It was really cute. And we got to pet a sloth. That was cool too.
What about spending time with the people, the children in the village?
How'd you like playing Duck, Duck, Goose?
Yeah, we played Duck, Duck, Goose.
That was an American game that we introduced.
Yeah. They were very confused. One stood up, and then he just didn't run, and I'm like, you gotta run.
So it was really cool
I'm like,
to play
yeah,
with the kids.
you gotta run.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Do you all have any more questions that you're wanting to ask us? I know I saw.
I have one. Did the people speak their native language, or did they speak Portuguese?
They pretty much spoke Portuguese, and then I think a little bit of it you could kind of pick up from, I had Spanish class a couple years ago, but some of the words translated.
So I don't know if you have time to see a small clip. Were you able to get that pulled up? This, to me, was just a really pretty video. It's 2 minutes long, so if you want to stop it early, you can. But I have asked him to pull it up so you can just see them communicating. I love this video. He was like, there's the picture. They're not going to show the video, but it's pretty funny if you watch all of it.
What is it?
This is Emily. Emily. Emily.
What's his name? Your name. What's your name? Gabriel. Gabriel. Huh? Gabriel. 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 Uh-huh. Yours? Huh? Kyle. Kyle. Gabrielle?
Kyle.
Kyle. Natalia. Natalia. So, one more time. Gabriella. Gabriella.
I called him Gabriella.
Quase todo mundo chama ele de Gabriela. I really got that one. Gabriel. Pereira da Natália. Fala agora tudo de novo. Fala. Micaela, Gabriel. Micael. Micael, Gabriel. Agora conta o nosso nome. Conta o nosso nome. Micael primeiro, Gabriel e Natália. Vai, Gabriel. Aqui, Micael. Gabriela. Vai, fala.
I just thought that was beautiful. So I'm glad I caught it on camera. Just shows them saying their names back and forth and just being able to socialize even though we didn't even need a translator there. They were still able to play and have fun and talk. So it was really beautiful.
Are there any other questions?
I saw them sitting in water in the houses, and it seemed like everything
Yes.
had water in it.
The houses that were towards the front of the river, which normally would have been 40 or 50 feet from the river, were flooded, about 2 to 3 foot of water in their house. And some of them were lucky enough to have an upstairs. They built that walkway that you saw with walkway going to their houses. And they were living in those houses with 2, 3 foot of water in it. Some of them had an upstairs, and they would build a path to the stairs, and then they were upstairs. In fact, one of them we went in, I don't know how they had that stove rigged up, but it was sitting on blocks next to that, next to the water, and had electricity. So I don't even know how they did that. But yeah, in the one photo you saw, the 4 men sitting, that was a bar, a tavern. And it was the 4 guys sitting in there drinking on chairs with water up to their hind ends. Didn't bother them one bit. But many of the houses, I don't know if some of them moved out. I don't know how. I think they just propped up whatever they could in the house.
I would be scared to death to be walking on a plank everywhere I go, especially if I had children. You would be afraid that they would fall. But they are able to adapt and just go with their
And they built that just this year for it because the water actually is higher than it normally gets by a couple feet. And that's why those places were flooded. Normally in the high season, it might not have reached their houses. Are there any other questions?
So with the water, my first thought is from a medical standpoint, do they have issues with like their feet getting hurt from being wet all the time? And also, was there any instances like us living in America, I can't even fathom that whenever the river floods, it's bad enough for us. But doing it yearly, do they lose children or people to the river when it floods? Or is it just they're so used to it that their safety is better than what I feel like mine would be if I was walking around in flood water?
I would say it appears that you're pretty used to doing this. Yeah, there's nothing.
I think Julie and them in the medical clinic area, like they had a lot of skin, like from chiggers and stuff like that, where they would scratch and make sores and stuff. So I feel like there was a lot of that from the chiggers. But I didn't see anything with the mosquitoes. Of course, we like all just from top head to toe made sure we were wiped down real good too. So I didn't see mosquitoes. Rice and fish. Rice and fish mostly. And I asked, I'm like, what do these people do for a living? And it sounds like they merely survive, like they take care of themselves. Like they live there, they fish for their families. I think there are some fishermen, but.
The first village that we stopped at, as far as employment, they had, I think they said there was a rock quarry close by, and then they had an Air Force base. It was actually a town of about, I think they said, what did they say, 500 men, Bruce? Yeah, about 500 men, so, roughly 1,000 adults and plus kids. So, I mean, it was a pretty big village. But, yeah, mostly, pushing up and down the river. The nearest hospital, back to your question about medical, on a speedboat, I believe it was 4 or 5 hours downriver to Manaus. So you didn't want to get hurt.
I'm just going to make one last comment. I was lucky because I had Braden and Shaylee in my group. And I told their mom and dad, no offense, Braden, but it was like two flowers blooming. From the first time they shared to when we shared with the rest of them, it was amazing to see them grow. And I felt like I grew a lot from the experience too. But it was amazing to watch them grow out of their shells to do that. It was great.
There are a lot of people that made it possible for us to go, and we just want to thank everyone for helping make that possible. So thank you all very much. We really appreciate it.
Sam, do you have something to say? I kind of figured.
Any other questions?
The comment is that Bruce said if we had rice again for a long time, he was not going to eat or he was not going to look at it. So apparently they had rice at all their meals. One of the things I said, he went on the trip, but here I have a question. The tribal dance that we witnessed in one of the scenes, is that a customary dance that they do for a reason, or is that just entertainment?
There were reasons behind all the different dances they did, but the video that he showed was actually from a indigenous tribe that we visited, and I think they were doing it then at that moment. It was more for educational purposes. Yeah, it was a tourist attraction spot. So they did like 3 different dances for us and explained. One of them was like they would do whenever a woman would become of marrying age. Another one was whenever a man became old enough to join the tribe, and then again whenever like has some sort of hunting ritual thing. I think that may have been the man. What was the other one? Do you remember?
There was something about when they went to get the bride.
Oh, yeah. So whenever they went to go get the bride, they had to take him from another village, and that was something about one of those whenever the bride and groom would get together. But do you have any other questions? Oh.
But the Indian village, they are true indigenous village, is truly their village, but they had that set up for show. So it's kind of a tourist attraction for them to make money. It's kind of like a little craft show around the edges. Each family had a little table, whatnot, but they don't dress like that every day. But they would dress up and tell their history and whatnot for kind of like a tourist type attraction, so they can make extra money. So it was pretty neat to see it, even though but one thing, it was kind of funny. They were like, oh, by the way, we're going to go to this Jewish tribe, and sometimes the women just don't wear any tops at all, so just prepare your boys just to not stare, because that's just their natural way of being, which is a lot different in the U.S. They don't see the women's breasts and stuff as a sexual, thing over there. It's just normal, and that's just how they walk around. And but thank goodness for my boys, they all had feathers and stuff over them, so they were spared. But it's still, you're learning about different cultures, which was pretty neat. So
They actually let us jump in one of the last dances too, which was fun. But
Back to the boardwalk when, oh wait, no, not the boardwalk. Well, when in the soccer place where they played their games, a bunch of girls came up to me and we were trying to translate, like we were doing fingers like 1, 2. Or, yeah, it was kind of like that. It was funny because we tried to tell each other's our names. And then we also, they asked if I had a phone. I'm like, nope, nope. They literally handed out their hand and they started like, no, yeah. And it was fun. It was funny too.
did you make friends there?
Yeah. I wanted to say something about whenever we were they had like a big pavilion, and that's where we did the medical clinic and stuff. And that's what Hannah was talking about. But we also brought a new soccer ball, and like whenever we gave it to them, they just started playing with it immediately.
They were super excited. They asked for a ball, and sure enough, they had soccer balls that were deflated, so the kids were able to pump it up. And when we got back, you would have thought it was Christmas Day, because theirs was pretty rough. But yeah, that was like a super big treat for them. Just a simple soccer ball, because yeah, it's pretty neat.
All right. Thank you guys very much. One thing that I would like to say as we get ready to close is Brandy made a point that missions isn't just in other countries. Missions isn't just in overseas. It's not even just in other states. This coming weekend, I announced it this morning. I've been talking about it for weeks and weeks and weeks. We're going to the SICC camp. That's a half an hour away. We're going to be doing a lot of work, and the Swishers are coming for that too. We're going to be doing a lot of work to help people that don't have the same privileges that we do. They don't have the same opportunities that that a lot of other kids have. This SICC camp is a free camp. It's a camp made and donated to specifically for the purpose of kids that can't pay $160 to go to camp. Like, this is an opportunity for kids to be able to hear this gospel message, the message that they need for eternity, eternity in heaven. And it's without the work that we're going to be doing this next weekend, without the donations that are made by private individuals and other churches, this camp's going to shut down. So this work that we're doing is pouring into a group of kids that otherwise wouldn't be able to hear this message. So even though today was about Brazil, that opportunity is still there. We just have to look for it. One really big thing, Scott, I'm not big on bringing messages while I'm standing in the grocery line either, surprisingly. But it's something that I think all of us need to work on. It's something that when you see a mom struggling in a grocery store, pray for them. When you see a waitress that seems to be having a hard day at a restaurant, ask them if you can pray for them. One of the best memories that I have of Matt Collins being here, Carol was part of it too. We went out to eat at Golden Corral, or not Golden Corral, Cracker Barrel, and while we were there eating outside in the cold, the waitress was sad. There was something that was noticeable, and we prayed for her. We asked her if we could pray for her for any particular reason, and we were able to pray for her over the issues that she was having. So it's an opportunity that's there for every single one of us. We encounter people every day. That opportunity is there. And the Great Commission, we're called. That's our job as Christians. That's the one job that we're given. We've got the opportunity to do it.
So again, going back to Matt and Julie, because they taught us a ton. But like Julie, you know, whenever she was, I don't know if they were Chicago, where they went, she was walking down the sidewalk and she found a wallet. She picked up that wallet and it was full of money, you know, and she went to the bank and she's like, you know, I just need to talk to that lady. And so the lady answered the phone. She's like, I'll be right there. She took that opportunity to like share the gospel and pray with that woman. So that's like what you're saying. One of those other opportunities, you know, God put you somewhere for a reason, and we need to see that opportunity, which a lot of us don't see those, you know, but to be able to recognize and see that we're there for a reason. Kind of also going back to Matt, and when he was preaching, is it Paul who was put in prison? When Paul was put in prison, God put him there, even though he was innocent, to stop what he was doing in his life, to be able to write. We wouldn't have those messages if it wasn't for him. He was able to see the beauty in where we normally would be really upset in. So I just thought that was really cool. But yeah, being able to stop and pray for people and see the blessings. A lot of times we pray for something when we're upset, and then if God answers our prayers, we don't share that. Like, to be able to see that as an answered prayer and to use that as part of a testimony is something also that we're like, oh, thank you, Jesus. And then, like, you never say anything about it. So, I don't know. Sorry. I just thought of Julie and the wallet. So, and then if she wouldn't have shared that with us, it's just a lot of aha moments that is pretty neat to be a part of.
All right. I mentioned earlier that Carol has finger foods that he wants to share with everybody else. They're not just for him. So as we close, I'm also going to bless the finger food meal that we're having. Dear God, thank you so much for today. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to see your work that is going on in the world. God, I pray again for every person here that we see those opportunities that you put before us. You make it clear that it's our job to spread your message among the people that haven't heard of who you are, who have had bad experiences, that need to know who you are. God, I pray that you give us the opportunities, show us the opportunities, make it clear, and get rid of the butterflies in our stomach, God, because that's a lot of the reason why we keep our words to ourselves and we don't step out. God, I pray that you give us the courage to reach out to the people that are around us, whether it's friends, whether it's family, whether it's complete strangers. God, I pray that you give us that strength. Lord God, I pray over this meal that you use it to nourish our bodies to be able to do your work. Keep us strong to be able to go out into the world. God, I pray over each person here that you give us the opportunities. Keep pouring opportunities on us, God. Let us give your message to the world. And it's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.